always been a bit of a lurker, but I'm coming to the one place I think can help me now. Something seriously wrong in my hometown. I've always been an explorer. After having spent most of my younger years being raised and educated in Ohio, I struck out on my own. After 5 years in DC and almost 1 year in Florida, I've been relatively happy with my choices. But I do miss Ohio. In the fall time, cold weather and all. My family all lives in Tuscarawas County, which is a small county about an hour south of Akron. So it's never been an issue when I want to go home for long periods of time. After living on an island most of the year, it's nice to go somewhere that has a large landmass for me to explore, hike, and whatnot. Which brings us to 2 weeks ago when I called my mom and asked if she'd be willing to put me up for a week so I can come see friends. She, being a typical mother, happily obliged. We talked about the comings and goings of small town Dover, Ohio, and typical neighbor gossip when she said, "The area is changing." Me being from there dismissed it. Something was always going to happen, but it never quite materialized in my small town. I drove up a week later, happy to be home and seeing friends and family. I spent the first few days bouncing all around the county. One night, I couldn't sleep and hopped in the Jeep and decided to take a night drive, driving like a bat of hell across these winding roads till I ended up back in town. I stopped at the local Circle K for a pop. This is the first time I noticed something off. As I walked out of Circle K onto the parking lot, I noticed a man standing in his front yard next to the Circle K, just standing there, staring straight ahead at the empty street in front. I assumed he maybe had AirPods on or something, but he made no noise. Just stood there, never once turning his head. I brushed this off and of course hopped in my Jeep. Once started, the radio blared to life louder than I had remember having it. I turned it down and once again looked up toward the man. He was still staring, but his head had shifted to the left. He was not staring at my car, staring at me. I could feel it. Needless to say, I noped out of there really quickly. Got to my mom's. Convinced myself it was this weird guy and fell asleep. The next day, I happened to drive past the house again, and the man was gone, though I half expected him to find him there, still staring ahead. I told myself to quit being paranoid and just enjoy my time here. 2 nights later, I was at my sister's, and we were talking about it. I told her about the man I had seen, and to my surprise, she said the same thing my mother had said weeks earlier. Yes, it's changing. I asked her what she meant, and all she said was, "It just is." After a bit more catching up, I hopped in the Jeep again and took off to Mom's. Driving through town late at night was always peaceful, as the roads were usually barren, barring the occasional late night drive or two. You tend to zone out except for when you see the random red lights. Something felt off and uneasy, though, to me. I came to a red light, and that's when I saw them. The houses lining the street on the block before me had people standing in front of them. At least one person in front of every single house. All of them staring in their front lawns, uniforms staring straight ahead. I turned off the radio and rolled down the window and slowed down in front of the houses where two people, a man and a woman, stood. "You guys okay?" I managed to say. "Nothing." What's going on?" I stammered, trying to put some bass in my voice. Still nothing. Their eyes weren't even focused on me, just staring straight ahead. Their heads didn't even move. "Frick this," I thought, and sped off. Further down the road I went, desperately trying to get to my mom's and shake the creepiness factor. However, as I continued and turned off the main street, I noticed that more people were out in their homes. It wasn't every house, but probably one out of every three, all of them just staring straight ahead. To my little relief, my mother's street was not experiencing this. I ran to the house. Mom, you gotta get up. Something's going on. Zach, what? It's 12:30. What could possibly be going on? I told her the story and she looked at me closely. It was obvious she didn't believe me. I begged her to come with me and I could show her. I finally coaxed her out and we got in the Jeep and I went to areas where I've seen the people. No one was there. The streets just are like they usually were at this hour. Mom was annoyed and complaining about being pulled out of bed. I told her I knew what I've seen and it was weird and something felt off in town. Zach, the area is changing. She said coldly, almost as if it wasn't in her voice. I asked her what that meant, but she gave the same answer my sister had hours earlier. It just is. I pressed her for more. She didn't say anything till we got back her home. She told me goodnight and went to bed. I couldn't sleep. Something felt off. I felt as though those people were still out there. The next morning, I left for Cleveland as planned to see some friends over the course of 2 days. I stopped at Speedway to get gas that morning and was tired due to lack of sleep the night before. I went in for coffee and to my surprise, the man standing behind the counter was the same man I have seen at the start of all of this. I froze, unable to move. Does he recognize me? I thought, no, there's no way. I walked up with my coffee, and he looked at me before asking,
Anything else?
no. I stammered. He was different, fidgeting and tapping his fingers on the counter. So much movement compared to who I saw the first night. I had to say something, anything to him. I had to know if he knew me. Hey man, I think I saw you the other night. I meant to blur out, my eyes avoiding his.
Oh, where at?
He asked. I think I saw you standing outside your house the other night around 11:30. I barely muttered.
Nah, man, it couldn't have been me. I opened the store and I go to bed pretty early.
Must have been something else, someone else. I managed to say, not really believing it. This was for sure the same guy.
Lots of people moving here, man. Don't know the whole town like I used to. The area is changing. That's for sure.
As he said it, his eyes got very distant for a moment before shifting back to his cheerful demeanor. The words sent chills down my spine. What was going on? My sister, my mom, and now this guy all had the same reaction with the same words. I grabbed my coffee and got out of there, ignoring his,
Have a good one, brother.
as I walked out the door. Being in Cleveland was wonderful for those 2 days. I felt as though a giant weight had lifted off my shoulders. Life was normal again. My college friends and I went to the Cavs game, hung out, drank ourselves stupid, and overall all had a great time. All those weird experiences, while in the back of my mind, felt like a distant memory. Which brings us to tonight. My mom had called me around at 4 and asked if I would head home. I told her I'll still be there, but she should still leave the door unlocked in case I leave late. I told her I'll text her when I leave Cleveland prior to the 2 hour drive. I felt a bit of paranoia leaving the city. Something's off. Like home, right? Did my mom my mind playing tricks on me? I did my best to push this feeling down, but I couldn't shake it. This ominous sense of dread as I rolled down I-44 to a place that now terrified me. pull off the interstate and onto the exit around 11:30. My anxiety was borderline overwhelming, like this impending sense of dread. I went past the gas stations and turned back into town towards my mom's place, and I wasn't prepared for what I saw. Every house, every house had people in front of them. All of them were standing locked up in their front yawns. I couldn't believe it. It was as if the road was a red carpet, and they were lining it for me and my Jeep to drive down. No one moved. No one even acknowledged the cars that rode down the street. They were all just stared straight ahead. I had to get to my mom and my sisters now, I said, speeding through the quiet streets. Faces not acknowledging me, not just the same blank stares. Fathers, mothers, children. Everyone just staring straight ahead. What was this? Why are all these people out here? I finally came to my mom's street, and I saw what I dread most. Her and her stepfather were in front of their home, like all the others, standing there, straight-eyed at the street. I got out of the car and onto the street slowly, almost as if I was afraid a sudden movement would cause the various neighbors to descend upon me. Heck, even my own parents, who knows what the heck this is? Mom, you okay? I asked in a hushed voice. Tim. Nothing. Just stared straight ahead. I was so scared at that moment. What was causing this? Why don't they acknowledge me? Jesus Christ, I'm her own son. Terrified and shocked, I grabbed my mom by the shoulders. We gotta get the heck out of here now. I screamed. She blinked. The first moment I had seen. Her head jerked sideways, almost inquisitively, as if she was trying to sort what was happening. She opened her mouth and let out a slight, gravelly breath. The area is changing, she whispered. It wasn't her voice. It wasn't a guttural, gravelly voice. Suddenly, I heard the sound of movement, and the entire street was looking at me. All at once, they opened their mouth and let out a wail. It sounded like there's no way to describe it. Dozens of wails from these people, these neighbors, like dozens of people were all crying out in agony. And the sound kept increasing, almost as if the whole neighborhood was all crying out in a tortured scream. I ran across the front yard as fast as I could away from my own mother and jumped in the car and sped out. The radio off as I heard the screams continue. It was the whole town. They were all looking at me, their faces shifting as my Jeep sped down the road. All of their voices projected out this tortured noise. I have never heard anything like that. I pray I will never again. I jumped on the interstate and got the hell out of there. I drove for an hour to Akron and checked into a hotel where I'm writing this. I don't know what to do. Do I go back in the daytime? Do I call the police? I have to do something. My whole family is there. I try calling my sisters and no one answers. I hope they're safe, but I dare not attempt to go get them now. Not until daytime. The area may be changing, but I'll be damned. My family is going to change with it.